My dear students, welcome back to our channel. In this video, I will be explaining the Bcom 5th semester subject Business Economics as prescribed by Osmania University and other universities of Telangana. We will go through the important questions and answers one by one. Let's begin with a quick revision. Unit 2 first important short question is: define demand. Meaning: in economics, demand means the desire to buy a product backed by the ability and willingness to pay for it. In simple words, demand is not just wanting something, it's wanting it and being ready to pay for it. Example: if you want a car but don't have money, it's only a wish. But if you want a car and have 10 lakh rupees to buy it, that's demand. Definition by Professor Hibdo. Demand means the quantity of a commodity that a consumer is willing and able to purchase at different prices during a given period of time. Key elements of demand: 1. Desire for a product. 2. Ability to pay. 3. Willingness to spend. Remember, desire plus money plus willingness is equal to demand. So, demand shows the relationship between price and quantity consumers are ready to buy. Next important short question is: 2. Demand function. Meaning: a demand function shows the relationship between the demand for a product and the factors that influence it, such as price, income, and taste. In simple words, it tells us how much quantity consumers will buy when different factors change. Symbolically, dx is equal to f px I pr t a, where d is equal to demand for the commodity, p is equal to price of the commodity, I is equal to income of the consumer, p is equal to prices of related goods, t is equal to taste and preferences, a is equal to advertisement. Example: if the price of tea increases, people may buy less tea and more coffee. Here, the demand for tea changes due to a change in price. That's the demand function in action. Remember, demand function acts like a mirror. It reflects how changes in price, income, or taste affect the quantity demanded of a good. Next important short question is: 3 types of demand. Meaning: demand can be of different types depending on how and why people buy goods. Understanding these types helps businesses make better pricing and production decisions. Main types of demand. 1. Individual demand. Demand by a single consumer. Example: your personal demand for mobile data every month. 2. Market demand. Total demand of all consumers for a product. Example: total demand for mobile data in India. 3. Joint demand. When two goods are used together. Example: car and petrol, pen and ink. 4. Composite demand. When one good is used for many purposes. Example: electricity for home, office, and factories. 5. Derived demand. Demand for a product that depends on another. Example: demand for steel depends on demand for cars. Remember, demand is like a tree. It has many branches, types, but all connect to one root, the desire and ability to buy goods. Next important short question is: 4. Elasticity of demand. Meaning: elasticity of demand measures how much the quantity demanded of a product changes when there is a change in its price, income, or the price of related goods. In simple words, it shows how sensitive buyers are to changes in price or income. Example: if the price of onions rises sharply and people still buy almost the same amount, the demand is inelastic. But if the price of pizza rises and people stop buying it quickly, the demand is elastic. Types of elasticity. 1. Price elasticity, change in demand due to change in price. 2. Income elasticity, change in demand due to change in income. 3. Cross elasticity, change in demand due to change in price of related goods. Remember, elasticity of demand is like a rubber band. Some goods stretch, elastic. When prices change, others hardly move, inelastic. Next important short question is 5. Cross elasticity of demand. Meaning, cross elasticity of demand explains how the demand for one product changes when there is a change in the price of another product. It helps to find the relationship between two goods, whether they are substitutes or complementary. Formula: EXY is equal to % change in demand of good X % change in price of good Y. Types: 1. Positive cross elasticity. When the price of one product increases, the demand for another also increases. Example, if the price of Pepsi increases, demand for Coke rises. Substitute goods. 2. Negative cross elasticity. When the price of one product increases, demand for another decreases. Example, if petrol becomes costlier, demand for cars falls. Complementary goods. Remember, cross elasticity shows how closely two products are connected. If one moves, the other reacts like a teammate. Next unit 2. Long questions. First important long question is: explain the law of demand and its exceptions. Law of demand and its exceptions. Meaning, the law of demand explains the relationship between price and quantity demanded of a product. It says that, other things remaining constant, when the price of a good decreases, its demand increases, and when the price increases, its demand falls. In simple words, people buy more when prices are low and less when prices are high. Definition: Professor Alfred Marshall. Other things being equal, the higher the price of a good, the smaller is the quantity demanded, and the lower the price, the greater is the quantity demanded. Example: if the price of sugar falls from 50 rupee to 40 rupee per kg, people buy more sugar. But if the price rises to 60 rupees, they buy less. Diagram: explain in words for exams. X-axis, quantity demanded. Y-axis, price. The demand curve slopes downward from left to right, showing the inverse relationship between price and demand. Reasons for the law. 1. Substitution effect, people shift to cheaper goods. 2. Income effect, when price falls, real income increases, so people buy more. 3. New consumers, lower price attracts new buyers. Exceptions to the law of demand. There are some cases where demand does not fall even if price rises. 1. Giffen goods, inferior goods like cheap rice or bread, poor people may buy more even at higher prices. 2. Prestige goods, costly goods like gold, diamonds, or luxury cars, bought for status even when prices rise. 3. Necessities, goods like medicines or salt, demand remains constant. 4. Future expectations, if people expect prices to rise soon, they buy more now. 5. Ignorance effect, consumers may think a higher price means better quality. Conclusion. The law of demand is a basic rule of economics. Demand moves opposite to price. Remember, when prices go up, wallets close up. Next important long question is: 2. What is demand? Explain the factors affecting demand for a product. What is demand? Explain the factors affecting demand for a product. Meaning, in economics, demand means the desire to buy a product backed by the ability and willingness to pay for it. It shows how much of a product people are ready to buy at different prices. In short, desire plus ability to pay plus willingness is equal to demand. Definition: Professor Hibdo. Demand means the quantity of a commodity that a consumer is willing and able to purchase at different prices during a given period of time. Example: if a person wants a bike and has 1 lakh rupees to buy it, it becomes a demand. But if he doesn't have money, it's just a wish. Factors affecting demand. 1. Price of the commodity. When price falls, demand rises. When price rises, demand falls. Inverse relationship. 2. Income of the consumer. Higher income is equal to more purchasing power is equal to more demand for goods. 3. Prices of related goods. O substitute goods. If coffee price rises, demand for tea increases. O complementary goods. If petrol becomes expensive, demand for cars may fall. 4. Tastes and preferences. Fashion trends and lifestyle changes can increase or decrease demand. 5. Future expectations. If people expect prices to rise soon, they buy more now. 6. Population and demographics. Larger population, higher demand for essential goods. 7. Season and weather. Seasonal goods like woolen clothes or ice creams have changing demand. 8. Advertising. Effective ads increase awareness and attract more buyers. Conclusion. Demand is influenced by many factors, not just price. Businesses study these factors to plan production, pricing, and marketing strategies. Remember, demand is like a balance. When one side, price or income, changes, the other side, quantity demanded, also moves. Next important long question is 3. Define price elasticity of demand. Explain the methods to measure price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand and its measurement. Meaning: price elasticity of demand, PED, measures how sensitive the quantity demanded of a good is to a change in its price. In simple words, it tells us how much the demand changes when the price changes. Formula: PED is equal to % change in quantity demanded % change in price. Example: if the price of a chocolate rises by 10% and the demand falls by 20%, then PED is equal to 20 divided by 10 equals 2. This shows demand is elastic because it changes a lot with price. Types of PED. Elastic: 1 quantity demanded changes more than price. Inelastic: 1 quantity demanded changes less than price. Unitary: is equal to 1 quantity demanded changes exactly in proportion to price. Methods to measure price elasticity of demand. Percentage method, proportionate method. This is the most common method using the formula above. PED is equal to delta QQ, delta PP. Example: price rises from 50 rupee to 60 rupees, demand falls from 100 units to 80 units. Total expenditure method, revenue method. If total expenditure, price times quantity, falls when price rises, demand is elastic. If total expenditure rises when price rises, demand is inelastic. Example: price of juice increases and total sales revenue falls, demand is elastic. Geometric point method. Uses the slope of the demand curve at a particular point. PED is equal to dQ dP times PQ. Useful when demand curve is smooth and continuous. Conclusion. PED helps businesses set prices, forecast sales, and plan production. Remember, price changes, demand reacts. The bigger the reaction, the more elastic it is. Next important long question is 4. What is price elasticity of demand? What are the types of price elasticities of demand? Price elasticity of demand and its types. Meaning, price elasticity of demand, PED, measures how much the quantity demanded of a product changes when there is a change in its price. In simple words, PED shows how sensitive buyers are to price changes. Formula: PED is equal to percent change in quantity demanded percent change in price. Example: if the price of tea rises by 10% and the demand falls by 15%, PED is equal to 15 divided by 10 is equal to 1.5. Demand is elastic. Types of price elasticity of demand. Perfectly elastic demand, PED is equal to. Even a tiny change in price causes demand to drop to zero. Rare in real life. Example: highly competitive market where one seller's price rise loses all customers. Elastic demand, PED1. Demand changes more than price change. Example: luxury goods like branded chocolate. Unitary elastic demand, PED is equal to 1. Demand changes exactly in proportion to price change. Example: moderate goods like rice in some regions. Inelastic demand, PED1. Demand changes less than price change. Example: petrol, medicines, even if price rises, demand falls little. Perfectly inelastic demand, PED is equal to 0. Demand does not change at all with price. Example: life-saving drugs like insulin. Relatively elastic and relatively inelastic. PED1 relatively elastic, sensitive. PED1 relatively inelastic, less sensitive. Conclusion: PED is crucial for pricing decisions, revenue planning, and understanding customer behavior. Remember, price moves, demand reacts. How much it reacts tells the type of elasticity. Scales. Next important long question is: 5. What is elasticity of demand? Explain the types of elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand and its types. Meaning, elasticity of demand measures how much the demand for a product changes when certain factors like price, income, or price of other goods change. In simple words, it tells us how sensitive consumers are to changes in price, income, or related goods. Types of elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand, PED, shows how demand changes with a change in price. Formula: PED is equal to percent change in quantity demanded percent change in price. Example: if tea price rises by 10% and demand falls by 20%, PED is equal to demand is elastic. Income elasticity of demand, YD, shows how demand changes with changes in consumer income. Formula: YD is equal to percent change in quantity demanded percent change in income. Example: if income rises by 10% and people buy 15% more chocolate, YD is equal to 1.5 luxury goods. Cross elasticity of demand, XED, measures how demand for one good changes when the price of another good changes. Formula: XED is equal to percent change in demand of good X percent change in price of good Y. Example: if price of coffee rises and demand for tea rises, substitutes. If price of petrol rises and demand for cars falls, complements. Summary: elasticity of demand helps businesses set prices, forecast sales, and plan production. Price, income, and cross-elasticity are the main types. Remember, elasticity shows how flexible demand is, like a rubber band. High elasticity stretches a lot, sensitive. Low elasticity stretches little, insensitive. Easy trick to remember. Price, income, cross, change 1. See how demand tosses.